The Hill's Cheyanne Daniels took a deep dive into the proposal with her piece and joins us now. Cheyanne, it sounds like this is about even more than the horrid history of slavery in this country.
Yes, that's correct. As you mentioned, these three specific areas are clearly not necessarily directly related to slavery, but what we do know is that these are the systemic racism incidents and repercussions of slavery. So when we think about mass incarceration and over-policing and the way that police are predominantly in Black areas, when we think about housing discrimination, that of course goes to redlining, but also devaluation of Black communities, Black neighborhoods, Black homes compared to white neighborhoods and white homes. And when we even think about the harms to health, that also includes toxic materials being dumped into Black communities, Black neighborhoods, as well as toxic industries being built around or near these neighborhoods.
And so, panel, let's ask Cheyanne some questions about this, because it seems to me that this is an issue, Julia, that has been around for a long time and really has not gotten traction in the mainstream, but now we have a vote in California.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cheyanne, on that point, this is Julia. In your piece, I was looking at some of the stats you included, and one of them that really stuck out at me that I don't think we hear enough about, quite frankly, is that Black men make up 13% of the general population, but they're 35% of the incarcerated population. Black women make up 13% of the population as well, but they're 44% of the incarcerated population. So, you know, going forward, you know, it goes much. You talk about the systemic issues here, and this is so much more than incarceration. What does this mean for other aspects of these people's lives when they get out of prison or jail and they're trying to buy a home and such?
Yeah, absolutely. Those numbers are absolutely staggering, as you mentioned. And part of that, again, when the task force discusses reparations, they specifically mention things like the war on drugs, which we know was a program that did target Black Americans. And so when you think about these individuals who then end up incarcerated, what happens when they come out of incarceration and they are attempting to return and reintegrate into society is they lack the funding necessarily. Sometimes their credit is affected. Some of them even can't are forbidden from having bank accounts because banks will not allow them to open a bank account. And so it's not necessarily slavery that we're thinking of, but this task force is saying this sort of systemic disparities that we see have affected many Black Americans' ability to build generational wealth that can be passed down on to their families and their future generations to be able to create that equal playing field that we often hear talked about.
Yeah. Cheyanne, it's Chris Steyerwalt. How would this work? So you have to demonstrate that you are a blood descendant of an enslaved person to qualify for this, is that right?
So this is the more controversial part that has come up a little bit because it's unclear exactly how or who would qualify, but we do know that the task force has said that you would have to have some sort of proof of residency in the state of California for at least 6 months of the time periods that they are looking at, which range depending on which harm is being discussed. But then on top of that, they have said that if you can trace your lineage back to an enslaved African who was here on American soil, or if you are the descendant of a free Black American prior to the end of the 19th century. But again, the issues that crop up a little bit with that is not everybody is able to track their lineage, and in part that is because of slavery.
That sounds Carrie.
Hi, this is Carrie Sheffield. So I just want to ask, you know, this polls terribly. Most people see this as a problem with fundamental fairness, that the vast majority of white Americans were not slave owners, and yet they would be the ones who would be footing the bill for this. And you already have, this is the third year now that California has lost population. You had 138,000 people, this is according to the California Department of Treasury, leave California. People are leaving California because of high taxes, high regulation, high crime. Is this I mean, what's the sense just among the population that this is just fundamentally, number one, unfair, and number two, just way too expensive right now?
I think the where we see folks pointing to the unfairness, Carrie, is the fact that we see these racial discrepancies across the board when it comes, again, to generational wealth, education, access to education, and incarceration, health equity, lack of health equity. And so I hear that there's some concerns about white Americans, not all white Americans can be traced their background back to slave owners. And that is true, but we have to look at it holistically, I think, is what the task force is saying.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.